Welcome to the Layman Seminary. Okay, this is the third video where we're dealing with the entire book of Hebrews. We're making these descriptive summaries. See those previous videos for why we did what we did. But this is the results from the last video. Now, what I did here is I preserved all of my work. And so I took I copied and then I erased all the black and kept the blue. But like I said, I'm not erasing anything. I just want to see all the blue together. And let me clarify. Whenever you do these methods, don't erase anything. Make a copy of it and then erase from that copy of that same document so that you can always go back and include the other descriptive summaries that you've done, either in a commentary, in a Bible study, so you continue with that work. So this time, I brought together the summaries that were in blue at the paragraph level for each chapter. Now, I know it's possible that the chapter divisions are not perfect summaries, but that's what I went with. So let me just read. Well, I can actually, let me think about how I want to do this. I can actually erase the blue here. Well, let me follow my example in my words. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go up here and then I'm going to erase that, erase that, erase that, erase that. I have to keep saying erase that or drive you crazy. Come on. Why don't you want to highlight, computer? Looks like there's a delay or something. All right. So now we have the entire book here in summary. So I'm going to read this summary, and then we may make further divisions to try to see if we can see where there's emphasis shift. Now, of course, if you were going in and doing more observation on the structure of the book and everything, you would get more and more accurate. But we're just trying to, our goal for this particular step is to get to a point of where we have a one-sentence summary for the contents of the book. Then we can take that one-sentence summary and evaluate whether it actually reflects the contents of the book. So, Chapter 1, the Son is distinct from other human prophets and angels because of his characteristics of ministry that qualify him for the Messianic millennial kingdom inheritance. Chapter 2, the Christian can be disinherited from the unique destiny that is possible because Christ has exalted humanity above angels. He also intercedes for them as high priest since they are part of his dynasty or household. Chapter 3, even though the Christian has the distinct position and privilege, they can be disinherited and divinely disciplined, just like the Exodus generation was. Chapter 4, Israel's history included both rest and disinheritance because the ultimate is also future, but Christ's provision as high priest is available. Chapter 5, Christ's present provision is possible because of his distinctiveness, and this is key for these intentionally immature believers to grow up. Chapter 6, the goal is maturity and there are consequences for not maturing, but God is faithful to his promises that are the basis for his present provision. Chapter 7, the distinctiveness of the Son's priesthood ministry means there's a new rule of life for the Christian that brings better blessings. Chapter 8, Christ's more excellent ministry is a result in change of covenants because of temporal judgment. Chapter 9, Christ brought a better system with better blessings because of the better basis, which is his accomplishments, present ministry, and future hope in ministry. Chapter 10, the Mosaic law lacked so was replaced as experiential means of sanctification. So there is no other sacrifice besides Christ. So they should not commit apostasy and experience disinheritance, especially since they have been faithful servants. Not clear sentences there, of course, but we're not worried about that right now. As I've shown in the other video, you can always fix that. Chapter 11 was already at the chapter level summary, so I just repasted it. Follow the Old Testament example of faithfulness. Chapter 12, I think, I'm not sure if that, no, this is the new one. These Christians must focus on Christ in order to press on so that the divine discipline results in maturity and light of the better city that they may have inheritance in with Christ. In chapter 18, application, follow Christ's example of suffering outside of Judaism. Okay, so I think to get an idea of how to order things, or we can see what the separate, let's go through and let's highlight everything that has to do with the sun. Okay, the sun is distinct from other human, so this one is all about the sun. Okay, well, need to get a highlighter here. We'll put him in yellow since he receives the glory. The Christian can be disinherited from their unique destiny that is possible because Christ has exalted humanity above angels, and he intercedes for them as high priest since they're part of his dynasty. So that's all about the Son, even though it mentions the believer in there. Even though the Christian has a distinct position and privilege, they can be disinherited, divinely disciplined, just like the Exodus generation was. Chapter 4. Israel's history included both rest and disinheritance because the ultimate is still future, but Christ's provision of high priest is still available. Christ's present provision is possible because his distinctness is key for these intentionally immature believers to grow up. Okay. Chapter 6, to go is maturity and their consequence for not maturing, but God is faithful to his promises that are the basis for the present provision. Of course, Christ is the pre-incarnate one interacting with Abraham and all of that, given the promises, so we could actually highlight that as well. Chapter 7, the distinctness of Son's priesthood ministry means there's a new rule of life for the Christian that brings better blessings. Chapter 8, Christ's more excellent ministry is a result in change of covenants because of temporal judgment. Chapter 9, Christ brought a better system with better blessings because the better basis, which is accomplished priestly ministry, future hope, and ministry. The Mosaic law lacked, so was replaced as experiential means of sanctification. So there's no other sacrifice besides Christ, so they should not commit apostasy experiences here, especially since they've been faithful servants. Chapter 11, follow the Old Testament example of faithfulness. Chapter 12, these Christians must focus on Christ in order to press on, so that the divine discipline results in maturity and light of the better city they may have inheritance with Christ. Application, follow Christ's example of suffering outside of Judaism. Okay, so we can clearly see there's a whole lot that's about Christ, but certain sections are more about Christ than about the recipient. So now let's use brown to remind us that we're dirt or we're dust. Humanity. So let's use brown or something related to brown, maybe a darker color. How about gray? Gray is close to the idea of brown. All right. So Christian can be disinherited for unique possessions as possible. This whole section right here is about the Christian, at least from this analysis. Israel's history, that's about humanity. So we can do that. The intentionally immature, those are the believers who receive the book. The goal of maturity, not maturing, God is faithful. And so this relates to the audience. There's a new rule of life for the Christian that brings better blessings. So for the Christian, let's see here. So they should not commit posse. All right, they should follow the example of Old Testament faithfulness. They need to press on to a better city. And of course, they're the ones that need to do the application in the book of going outside. So from looking at this, it seems like chapter 1 is exclusively describing about the distinctiveness of Christ in contrast to angels and all of that. But it would be interesting to see if there's any exhortations or any comments to the original audience, the recipients of this book. My guess is there's not. So I would say chapter 1 is its own unit. Then chapter 2, we start talking about the Christian being disinherited and about how God Christ intercedes for them. So I might do something like this. I might say this focuses on, I was going to say the separateness of Christ. Maybe we can even do something like this, the transcendence of Christ, emphasize. Some will say the supremacy of Christ, other terms like that. So let's go with red, the transcendence of Christ. Here, intercedes for them. This relates to the eminence of Christ. In other words, just because he's God doesn't mean that he doesn't have a relationship with Christians. Okay. So you could do that, and then that would be there. But there is a clear shift here. The eminence of Christ in disciplining believers. So I'm talking about the nation of Israel, in interceding and disciplining believers. Okay. So if that be the case, then I could actually bring this together. The eminence of Christ in interceding and disciplining believers. In his household. I could have used dynasty again, but I went ahead with household. Okay, so this deals with Old Testament saints, New Testament saints. So we could just put chapter 2 and 3 together. Interceding, chapter 4 is still together. This is, it's still talking about his intercession. So the intercessionary ministry of Christ is key to maturity. Let's try that. Okay, so that's his present provision right there. The goal of maturity based on the present provision. Better blessings. The interceding ministry of Christ is key to maturity because of all the blessings. That's shorthand. I would not say it like that, but okay, so that allows me to bring 7 together. And I would still say the change of covenant is part of this better blessings. So a better system. Let's see. I could definitely see how this could go with what's before or after. So we're going to kind of take this as transitionary and say, the Christian, I'm going to just say should remain faithful instead of saying not apostatize and all of that, because we know that's true, but just to remain faithful, one will not apostatize. So, okay, so if I say the Christian should remain faithful, then like the Old Testament saints, so I can bring chapters 11 together, like the OT saints, and especially like Christ. All right. Who provides for them to press on. All right, so that allows me to bring all that together. The Christian should share the destiny of Christ. You know, that he suffered, he was rejected, and also that he will be rewarded in all of that. So I would say that that will go at that level right there. Okay, so if that's correct, which do I think that this is the perfect division of the book of Hebrews? No. But understanding that Hebrews is more like a sermon or homily, as some people says, or to view it as a one message, then it's just like whenever a preacher preaches, you don't hear their outline. You don't. They may include an outline, but you don't hear their outline exactly. Rather, what you hear is what they're saying about the outline and what they want you to do based off of it, or the rhetorical effect of it. So, even if this is not the exact structure of the book, it gets you thinking about, okay, well, this seems to be related to this, or this element is present. And so how do I account for it? How do I relate to the things? And I'll show in other videos how we can do all that. But right now, I just want to, chapter 1, I'm saying there's a division there. I'm saying here, chapter 2. And honestly, if the Christian was not mentioned here, if there wasn't an exhortation, I would still include it just all talking about Christ. So this is chapter 2 through 4. And then this is chapter 5 through 9, I guess. All right, and then this is chapter 10 through 12. And this is, I think this theme flows throughout the entire book, sort of like First Peter. But we'll just do that. All right, so let me apply my suggestion earlier. Saving it. The preservation of that level. And now I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to erase this. It's easy to be brave whenever I have okay, just because I want to make this video short, I will probably, should I deal with that in another video or this video? Let's go ahead and deal with it in this video. Okay, the transcendence of Christ, the image of Christ. So we might do something like this, closer to the idea. Well, let's see if there's any other divisions here. Chapter 1 and 2 and 4. You have interceding here, but it's emphasized here. So Christ, maybe we could do something like this. Christ is distinct. Or the Son is distinct, actually, is what we would say. The Son is distinct. So let's change the color. Let's go with some royalty color there. And then the Son's intercession emphasized. Okay. All right, let's see here. The Son should share in the inheritance with the believers. In the destiny and inheritance. Try that. Or we could say the Son's example. Let's try that. The Son's example. The Son's example and destiny. So this is a Christocentric or Son-centric, Son-focused division here. And it's basically saying the Son is distinct, so the Christian needs to recognize he's distinct. The Son intercedes, so rather than being immature, one should be mature. The Son is the greatest example, and our destiny should be the same in the sense of suffering and glory. And so if this be the case, then this division is taking it to chapter 1 through 4. Okay. And then this one is still, that's still keeping this at chapter 5 through 9, which is interesting that I didn't lump it with, do I want to lump it? I could, but because of the emphasis on intercession, I'm going to keep it as a distinct movement. And then chapters 10 through 13. Okay. Well, we can even take this another level. Okay. Got that preserved. Now, maybe I may forget some things here. And the Son is distinct because of who he is and what he has done and what he presently does. Okay. Son is distinct. So, all right. Let me back up. So let's make this run out of colors. Let's use this. The Son is distinct. This is what I'm doing now is I'm going for my chapter summary. I mean my book summary. Okay. Because of who he is, what he's done, and what he presently does, which is intercedes for believers so that they can press on to maturity and share in Christ's destiny during their temporal lives as well as the future their possible future reign with Christ, because while they're all saved, not all will reign. While they'll all be in the millennium, not all will reign with him in there, as well as their future reign with Christ. Okay. So that is my book summary. That's my book summary. And I can make it even into a short, pithy statement. The Son, the distinct Son, desires to share his destiny with, we could say his sons, in other words, but if we just want to go with household of believers. Share his destiny, meaning what he experiences on earth so that they receive the inheritance. Yeah, I think that is let's see, the distinct Son desires to share his destiny with his household of believers. And he provides, and he makes this possible. Let's put that. He makes this possible through his intercessionary provision. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I think I got enough to go to the next level of what I need to do. But if you've been blessed by this video, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell if you want notifications for more content. Share this with others so that they can be blessed. And most of all, keep this ministry in prayer. God bless.